Hi, I'm Rebecca Rosen, a spiritual medium and best-selling author. Welcome to my podcast, Small, Medium, at Large. Although small in stature, I've been taking on the big and unusual job of talking to the dead for over 20 years. I serve as a messenger for spirit, helping people to connect to their departed loved ones and guides, while also encouraging them to strengthen their own intuition. Hello, my friends. So here we are in this final episode, which is a wrap-up of Season 2 of Small, Medium, at Large. Think of it like a greatest hits of the season, leaving you with some of the key points or takeaways that you can refer back to as you continue your spiritual journey of creating and living your heaven on earth. My intention for this season was to focus on my latest book, What's Your Heaven?, which essentially is a roadmap on how to experience heaven on earth, which is what we're all meant to do. However, painful family histories, personal traumas, and unhealthy cycles, patterns, and behaviors often stand in the way of that. This season's episodes include doing a deep dive into the idea that we are here in Earth School, learning and teaching specific lessons or assignments that we signed up to tackle in our lifetimes, with the goal being to clean up our karma, heal our unfinished business, and live with more grace, ease, joy, and flow, rather than the pain and struggle and suffering that so many of us find ourselves in, so that we can get on with living a heavenly life. I hope you found the answers and wisdom that you were seeking, and that the conversations inspired you toward moving into more of your soul's expansion and evolution of greater light and love. Be sure to stay in touch with me on social media at Medium Rebecca Rosen and through my newsletter and website, RebeccaRosen.com. Until next season, I'm wishing you brightest blessings and all love. Enjoy the show. We've all heard the expression, go deep, not wide. So when I really sat with this, what they were showing me was the importance of going within and doing the work internally. Okay, so we all have the opportunity, what I like to call, we're in Earth School, and we have work to do, homework, life assignments. And this I go in depth in my upcoming book that will be out the end of March of this year. It's called What's Your Heaven? And it's all about identifying what your top, 2 or 3 life assignments are. And they're usually a theme, okay? And so a lot of times we have shadow work, and shadow work isn't bad, but it's working with the unhealed parts of us or the frightened parts of our personality. And it's where we react. It's where we are in our ego and usually disconnected from, unplugged from source and our higher selves, okay? So when we're there, we react to life and versus responding. And so the whole goal is to make choices from a frequency of light and love versus shadow and fear. And so when we go within and when we go deep, we are really looking at what it is that keeps us separate, alone, disconnected in our ego self, okay? And the ego is not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's there for a reason, and it helps us function in this life. But it's all about balance. And again, it's really about intention. Are we showing up to our lives and making choices from neutrality, from a place of love, faith, and trust, okay? Making choices in the frequency of light and love versus from doubt and fear and competition and lack and limitation and scarcity and anxiety and all those lower vibrational emotions, right? So making choices from our shadow. And so it's just being aware, getting curious, looking at, okay, what is my work to do? And again, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. We all have homework. In fact, if we didn't, we wouldn't be here. So be grateful you have some lessons to work through. But here's the deal. My guides keep saying you can do this with the old way, and that is through pain and struggle, or you can do it the new way which is with grace, ease, simplicity, and flow. And so the old way is the 3D energies. It's working in the dualities and polarities of this 3D earth world, which creates the contrast and all of the lower emotions we're talking about. Or you can attune to the 5D frequencies of unity consciousness, oneness, connection, light, love, joy, peace, harmony. And you can, again, align with those frequencies, the light frequencies, and make choices from that place. And then you learn your lessons the easy way. Again, grace, ease, and flow. I get this question all the time. How does free will play into soul contracts? So let's just start with explaining what soul contracts are. This is essentially the basis of my new book coming out, What's Your Heaven? It's all about you being an active co-creator of the life you are born to live, okay? Where you come into this world with a pre-birth plan or a loose blueprint that outlines specific events, relationships, challenges, homework assignments, or lessons that you are here to learn. And so you, along with your group of very advanced guides called the Council of Elders, you sit down and you decide what it is that you need to come into this incarnation to learn and or to teach. And so, again, it's only a loose script because of we are born with the gift of free will, free choice. And so what happens is as you're journeying through your life, there are certain points that are destined to show up. But once you cross that point, what happens with it really comes down to your choice around it. So if you embrace it, if you, in a sense, go with the flow, then you are going to move through that lesson with a lot more ease and harmony and grace than if you resist it. So you can either say yes, or you can resist and say no. That is your free will. So what happens is that these are the sliding door moments, okay? So if something or someone is meant to cross your path at a certain time, okay, because within it holds a valuable lesson, then if you open door A and go with it, then you will move forward and life will continue flowing. But if you choose not to open door A, then at some point down the road, it shows up again as door B. And again, if you resist it, somewhere down the road, that same lesson, that same encounter is going to show up again as door C. So it's not a one and done. However, with the more doors that you bypass, the harder it gets. Okay, so the more you postpone it and resist, it's like taking a detour. Instead of like taking a direct straight shot to your destination, you're having to detour and make all these pit stops, and it becomes a longer, more drawn out, and sometimes challenging journey. And if those lessons are meant to be presented, they will be. But again, each door you bypass, the harder it gets, the harder you're making your life. So that is why you really want to choose from the frequency of light and not shadow, okay? Because our free will entails that we can make choices in alignment with light or love, or in alignment with shadow and fear. And when we're in shadow and fear, we're operating from the limited part of our ego self. When we're making choices from the light and from a place of love, we are aligned with our higher self, with our soul, and with our truth. And so free will truly does determine the quality of your life. And so that is why I always suggest you always to try and bypass your ego when you're trying to get clarity on what to do with something that's in front of you and you're making a choice around it. You pray for your highest truth, highest healing, and the highest truth and highest healing of all involved. Because doing so bypasses your ego, okay? So that you truly are coming from that frequency of light. So my dad died by suicide. And for those listeners who aren't familiar with my story, and this was 16 plus years ago, and he has come to me many, many times, along with thousands of spirits, expressing their regrets and frustrations over what they wish they would have known then, what they know now.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
is, we pick up in death where we left off in life. So all of it follows us. And so we want to clean up our karmic baggage right before now, while we still have the
Mm-hmm.
chance.
Right.
And I have felt for years, my dad behind the inspiration for you to want to heal,
Mm-hmm.
the relationships with your parents, and in particular with your dad, because I know my
Mm-hmm.
dad secretly wishes he had that opportunity with his kids.
Right. Well, I think it was sort of again, it's only through our life together that I came to this realization. And it's really through talking to you about what's going on with you and your work, that it was that idea of, hey, this is what I'm trying to heal with my family right now, is more than just, this lifetime's issue. It is the karmic baggage, as you put it. And I started to look at it that way. And again, you were really going deep on a lot of things, one of which was, soul contracts. And it started to resonate, and it's like, my dad and my brother and I were sort of stuck in these inextricably, dynamically opposed positions that were sort of beyond this life. They were karmic in that sense. And so it was with talking to you that I'm like, hey, I'm going to approach my dad with this, because again, I'm sort of the same idea of trying to heal the family unit, before while we still can in this lifetime. And so I approached my dad and really depersonalized it with the whole soul contract aspect of this. And it wasn't a conversation about like, hey, dad, you did this. And there was no accusation to it. There was, hey, you might have a soul contract in this life, Dad, to be, challenged by these things. And the things I laid out, he agreed. He's like, yeah, I've really been challenged by those things. Those do feel like my challenges in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. And that made it, he became the observer in that. He was observing a lifetime he's having where he's being challenged by these particular things. And it's not him being defensive of it, but rather he was able to then start to embrace it and look beyond it and say, and really say, well, you're right. Like, what do I need to do to clean this up before I move on? And I give you a ton of credit for this. I think at one point you had told them the same thing. You said, hey, look, like whatever you don't clean up in this lifetime, you're going to have to fix. And if you really screw it up, you might get 5 more lifetimes of this, or to some degree. You said that.
That will
so
my
dad said this very real fear of like, I need to clean shit up in this lifetime because I don't want to have to do all of these painful things again. Yeah. And so he was very responsive to that. And he depersonalized it, when he looked at it as a soul contract, and that he was fulfilling and learning lessons, lessons in this lifetime, or, amongst many that would learn in multiple lifetimes. He depersonalized it and was able to come from a much better place to try to reconcile some of that stuff.
How many times we would get on our weekly call and we'd talk about the miracles, the signs that were showing up as a result. And I remember writing this chapter on I am worthy. Mm-hmm. And that I'm putting myself out there when I put my work out there. I am, in a sense, airing my dirty laundry, but I do it to keep it real, to be authentic, to remind people that I'm no more different. We're all going through life. We all have our lessons. I'm not immune to it because I have this ability. And I'm writing about my worthiness issues, and I'm feeling very vulnerable. And I remember it was after a day of being on a call with you. I then went to my shaman energy healer, Celeste, who does body work and energy work. She's a little different than Jackie in that sense. And she picked right up on it. Everything you and I had just talked about on the call, she was downloading. And I was like, that's amazing. She's like, I'm reading your energy. And she said, and you're feeling very vulnerable. And you want to shrink down and crawl in a hole. That is also that shadow side of my Enneagram 9. And she said, no, your guides are saying, she said, in fact, you have a guide. It's a jaguar, a black jaguar. I said, that is my guide. That was my guide from 24 years ago when I first was introduced to my guardian angel and my grandma babe. It was the black jaguar guide.
Oh, I don't know that one.
So he has recently come back. He came back to me about a year ago. I don't talk about this with anybody.
Work him into book 5.
Yeah. And so she said, it's a jaguar. And I said, 100% it is. She said, he is here to protect you, to be fierce and to stop shrinking down and hiding. It's okay. There's strength and vulnerability, that whole message. Rise up, shine, be the example for everyone else who's walking this path of being brave and confronting their life lessons and doing their work. So I left there so deeply grateful and in awe. And as I'm driving home, and I have a picture, maybe we can attach it to this podcast, I end up behind a truck with this giant sticker on it of a black jaguar.
Ooh.
I mean, it took up the entire back side of the truck. And it was in my face. And so, of course, I believe, but I was so in awe of the timing and spirit saying, Rebecca, this is not about you. Get past yourself. Okay. Get out of your ego. Put this work out there. People need this. And that is exactly what you and I have done. You know, we've gotten out of our own ways and we've allowed spirit to work with and through us to bring through what I believe to be very important information at this time. What happens to our spirit guides when we pass away? I love this question. So here's what my guides have shared with me on what happens. Our spirit guides come and go based on the lessons we're working on at any one time in our life. And sometimes our guides are there for a few weeks, few months, few years, and sometimes a lifetime. It really just depends on what the lesson is. Okay. And so it's like trading out teachers or mentors or therapists throughout your lifetime. And so what happens is that we all have a permanent guardian angel. Okay, that's with us from the day we're born till the day we die. Some of us have permanent spirit guides. Many of us do. Okay, those are your main spirit guides. And then we have a lot of visiting spirit guides, and these are the ones that come and go. So what happens is when we cross over, you know, they're working equally as hard to grow and evolve as we are. They're just in non-physical, and it's a win-win if we can work together to help each other, to pass our tests, learn our lessons. So when you have done your work and you've moved on to a new lesson, the spirit guide pats itself on the back and gets to move on to a new assignment, whether that's guiding another living incarnated soul group member or moving on to the higher heavens to learn its lessons and do its own work. So our spirit guides, you know, sometimes what happens is they're done once we pass on. And then maybe the tables have turned where they trade places, where they say, cover me, I'm going in. And this time you get to be my guide. Okay, so they incarnate, and you at some point after being responsibly trained by more advanced guides, you would step in and guide them. This is exactly what happened with my grandmother Babe and I. You know, she took her own life. She passed away, and 10 years later, she became my spirit guide, but it took 10 years for her to heal and evolve to be able to effectively and responsibly guide me, who was headed down the same road of depression at that time. Okay, and then when I was complete, after about 18 months to 2 years, she moved on. She's no longer working with me. She'll come in to say hi, but in fact, I felt her the other day, and it was shocking. Because I hadn't felt her in years. but she was showing up left and right just to check in, to show me that she was around. But the point being, just like we evolve, so do your guides. Okay. And so they are going to move on to whatever it is next that allows their own evolution.
First of all, I want to acknowledge the brilliance of your process of, change it, run it, tap it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're doing is you're addressing energy on different levels, on the levels of your being. And so that will bring about a more hastened change, because it's not, it creates a fluidity or a harmonic, right? And so the process of running energy is a process of tapping into energy of the earth and source energy of the divine, and building a relationship with this infinite universe that's light, right? And so when we do that, that's where we find our more than. So when you're using an affirmation, or if you're speaking from that energy, right, of light and love and creativity, then when you speak, your words have a magnetism to them. They're going to help call in other forces of the universe that match that vibration. Everything has a tone, has a vibration. Everything is a code, right? And so when I choose my words in an affirmation, I am speaking a code that's going to download more energy or information from the universe. So when I call in divine energy to run through my system, I'm using the word divine. I'm speaking a code. It's like now I get to download the software of divinity, right? It's coming in, it's filling me, and I can run the program. Now I get to run it. It will manifest in my health and well-being, not only within my physical body, my mental body, but in my relational experience to all things in all ways. So any type of energy of exchange now, as I'm bringing this infinite energy in, it's going to continue to create, because I'm vibrating at it. Now I'm that code. And possibly when we run energy, we want it to run in through the divine, through the crown chakra, and then up from the earth through the feet. We want it to flow through us and come out the top of our head, the seventh chakra, and go out into our auric field, which is our complete energy field is much bigger than our physical boundary. And so we want to make sure that we're cleaning and we're running and we're attuning our whole field of energy to this divine light. And we want it to keep running. We don't want energy to be stagnant. We want it to be fluid, because light is fluid. And so when you're saying your affirmation, tapping your physical body, that tapping is basically saying, hey, anything in there that's not in the light or not in a harmonic for me, it's time to leave. It's like, think about, you're tapping and you're saying, it's time, goodbye. If you're not in alignment with my intention in my divinity, you can't stay. And so when you're running the energy, then that energy is coming in. You think of it as sort of your bouncer or your bodyguard. It's going to sweep up what you just tapped out.
Amazing.
And say, yep, you got to go.
Like flushing the toxins out.
Exactly, because dense vibrational energy that creates pain and suffering in any area of our life is rooted in a fear and a lie. Which means it's contrary to who we are at our core. And so our practice is meant to say, oh, what is going on here, that this dis-ease is present within me and around me? What do I need to know, divine spirit, so that I can grow, so that I can release the suffering and realize that the truth is, right, that I am safe, or the truth is I am capable. It's not this pain that I'm holding. The pain in itself is a lie, and it will continue to lie. That's why we don't ask the question, why?
Does spirit know when we will die? This is a good question because this goes back to our soul contracts. Before we're born, I'm sure you've heard me talk about, we set up these loose blueprints of our lives. And in those blueprints, we contract exit points. And exit points are, whether it's one or a handful of opportunities for our soul to leave the body if and when we feel like we have completed our mission on earth, why we came here in the first place. And so because of free will, and our choices, that's going to, what exit we take is going to vary based on a lot of things. But if we're in alignment, making choices from our higher selves, from the frequency of light versus shadow, which is our ego, and from fear. And so spirit, at the end of the day, does not know. When I do readings, a lot of times they will give predictions on and show me a range of ages of a potential upcoming exit, or sometimes we get access to understand all of the different exits, okay? And again, if you're not ready to go, you bypass the exit. So it becomes a wake-up call or a near-death experience. And then you go on to stay in a body to finish your life lessons. So, but spirit will sometimes give that information if it's going to be useful or helpful for whatever reason. And then other times I will get, just nothing. Like I am so not clear. Spirit is not sharing because it's either that spirit does not know because that person's free will is so strong and it's hard to tell the way everything's going to play out. But at the end of the day, your soul knows, and every soul knows on a soul level when it's going to leave, or no soul dies without its own consent. Okay, so this goes back to on a mind level, when someone leaves, regardless of how they leave or how soon or how late they leave, this is always decided from your higher self and from your soul, not your mind. Because on a mind level, that's the ego. That's where we try and control and play God. Okay, so this is always, any soul that leaves has always left because on a soul level, it has decided it is time. So at the end of the day, it is your soul that knows more so, if at all, than spirit. So I hope that helps bring you some clarity around this, but also some empowerment to just know that, if you really trust your higher self and your inner guidance, then you have nothing to be afraid of because you'll make the right decision at the right time, when it's time, and nothing sooner or later than that. There are times in which you all wonder how this is possible, but that is coming from your limited, conscious, linear mind. Your soul knows. Your soul is that part of you that is eternal, that is infinite, that moves in and out of embodiment in many different existences or lifetimes, as one may say. You are here now for a reason. You are at a very exciting evolutionary process on this planet. Those of you tuning in are ready to evolve to a higher level of wisdom and awareness. The veil is thinning, the layers are lifting, and with this comes clarity, and in that clarity comes peace. You will find that you are starting to experience more daily synchronicities, miracles, and grace. You will experience this more and more as you choose to do things that lock you into this higher light. It need not only be a meditative state, although for some, many of you walk around in a meditative-like existence. You're holding the vibration of 5D, as you would call it. This is a beautiful place to be. This is where you rise above the fight and you stay in the light. You get out of the frenetic heaviness, dense energies, and fragmentation of the 3D earth world. And from this place, you will start to feel more grace. You will start to be more detached and more present. You will call all your energy back from future and from past and be fully here now. This is the goal of your soul, to be fully present in each moment, in eager anticipation about what may come next, what divine miracle we have in store, that you have in store. For you are the creator of your reality. We simply support, advise, and assist. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Small Medium at Large. For more information about my offerings and events, and for additional resources on your spiritual journey, including my self-guided courses, books, and blog videos, please visit my website, RebeccaRosen.com. You can also follow me on social media by searching @Medium Rebecca Rosen on Facebook and Instagram. As always, wishing you brightest blessings and all love.